Wisconsin Eye's coverage of Campaign 2014 is being brought to you by the Wisconsin Hospital Association. For over 90 years, a valued voice supporting Wisconsin hospitals in communities like yours.
Wisconsin Eye coverage of the 2014 elections continue. We're interviewing Mary Jo Walters of Madison. She's a Democratic candidate for Lieutenant Governor. And just for the record, we're not related. This is the first time we've had a chance to meet. So thanks very much for coming in.
Hello, thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your background.
My background is extensive in that I've been on the planet for 50 years. And so I'm originally born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. That's where the Walters family is. As well as the Finleys, and I gravitated through to Wisconsin via the art community because my background's in, I have 2 degrees in art. One is in art education from Kent State University, and then the other is in a master's in fine art from California Institute of the Arts. So once done with graduate school and a Fulbright scholarship, a friend invited me to the artist community in Milwaukee in 2001, so that's how I got here, in a summary.
You've been active in the Capitol. Have you been since 2011? How did 2011 change your life and act and public conduct?
Oh, my public conduct. Well, actually, 2011, anyone who's still active in the Capitol, it completely transformed our lives. For many people working on social justice issues, this was no surprise, but for those of us that weren't as deeply engaged, the occupation of the Capitol really gave us the opportunity to, in a radical way, actually, connect. And that Capitol kept calling us back in terms of the energy that was there. And so it transformed a lot of people's lives, many of whom I've made maybe not 1,000 friends, but I've made a lot of friends that I wouldn't have met otherwise had it not been for Scott Walker and Act 10.
Why did you feel so strongly about Act 10 that you spent long hours and a few days at the Capitol in that winter of 2011?
Well, actually, what happened was my children go to school in the Madison Public Schools, and at that time, my firstborn was he didn't have school the day that the teachers decided not to go in. But then he did have school because we went right down, and a group of us from the neighborhood went down to meet the teachers and say hi to them and let the kids see what it was exactly that their teachers were doing. So I came back later that night, and again, the energy and sort of the enthusiasm around a free space had opened up. A good friend of mine who runs the Dane County Time Bank made a comment during that time period on Facebook. Stephanie said that this was a crack for democracy to come in. And that really resonated with me. I couldn't quite let that go. And so when I came there the third night, I met activist friends that were had brought their families to sleep overnight, and so I joined with them to hold a space called the Family Space, and I wasn't going to let go of that space, no matter what. There were, in my view, only 4 people that I would let guard the gate, is what I called it at that time, and I held that space till the end. I wasn't going to let that call to metaphorically and physically holding a space for families, I wasn't going to let that go. So, the passion is real and it's experiential. And back to your original question of how it transformed my life, I go back to another example, which is in the resistance communities. I watched a video from an activist, sorry, I can't remember exactly what tribe she's in, but they're fighting the pipeline from coming through their community. And then there are other activists fighting the
Keystone Pipeline?
Correct. This was the Keystone, but there were other activists that were in the same video fighting fracking from coming into their native tribal lands that they occupied, basically. And what that woman said, I really agree with in terms of my own, choice to continue to fight as strongly as I do here in Madison, and actually throughout the state, if I can get to the places where the fighting is happening. It is a form of resistance. And what this woman said was that we teach our children the resistance when we fight with resistance. And another term that comes up for my children to understand and experience is resilience. So resistance is sort of a fight stance, but resilience is the ability to do without or create new. And so I go back to many positive examples throughout the state that I see in person again and then also in the social media, where communities are coming together, they're growing their own food, they're saving their own seeds, they're protecting their water, and those are the stories that I want my children to know about. And they know that mommy right now is fighting. Actually, I'm working really hard to be a candidate even.
Right.
And so they see this as an example every day. And so it has transformed our life.
Well, just one more question on Act 10. Even though it was signed into law and did change a lot of the collective bargaining laws, do you consider the large protests and the energy and the passion and all the new relationships that protesters like you made a success for just because of the body of energy that protesters like you demonstrated and brought to it?
Well, I would say, again, because I was there, and I wasn't a key organizer, I was just holding that family space. I was very disappointed in how the energy was harvested toward the recall. I wouldn't have made that choice.
You would not have made the choice
Nope.
to try to turn the governor out of office?
Not through electoral means, not through the way that it went, because what happened was, and this is kind of sad, but I know for a fact that a lot of spirit and energy was given to that recall.
Mm-hmm.
And people daily, maybe again, who hadn't been engaged on the ground.
Instead of trying to recall the governor, your option would have been what?
I guess, again, to continue to organize in our communities.
Okay.
On the resistance, because I am completely against almost every single thing that he has done in the last 3 years. Okay. And I do not want 4 more years of any of their policies to come at us at all. We really cannot afford that. People are fleeing the state, and our water's at risk right now. So your question was in and around this energy around the Capitol. And
were there any victories in that protest energy?
We are organizing, and that is our biggest victory. Okay. And what I'm saying is, I wonder if we would have just kept organizing, what we would have come to. And what happened was, when the TAA left, and when we were basically in and around a lockdown of the Capitol, no food in, no food out. There was a surge, or I forget the word, surge going on, but there was it was scary at a point, because
mm-hmm.
we were really under siege. That's the word. But still, at that point, people were radicalizing, and I take back the word radical from the Republicans. Radicalizing means thinking for yourself and coming up with ideas 1 to 1 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 people. And so it's a little bit more small group. And I heard the conversations, and I heard the ideas that were coming. And so, not to say that didn't happen when people were going door to door for the recall. It's just that I know people fell flat after the recall loss. And so electoral politics is not the only way change comes. And to look at the history, labor histories, we know that. But what I'm saying is, we still are a lot of us, back to the point too, we're all in this fight till the end now. Might we had been just sort of watching it like a hobby, or once in a while volunteering our time. Right. A lot of us are invested, and we're not going away.
I'm curious about the transition from passionate protester to candidate.
Oh, it's so obvious.
Well,
what do you mean you're curious?
Well, I'm curious because you decided then to kind of join the system by being a candidate, didn't you?
I'll tell you why. It's because Kathleen Weinholt's not running. So, I was watching from afar. I went to see Kathleen, and I actually thought, okay, can Kathleen do it? Do it means be that watchdog.
Okay.
Do it means ask those tough questions and go into those uncomfortable situations to make the change that's needed. And I actually think I'm the only person. No one else stepped up. I know we need an activist in the role of lieutenant governor right now. We have a huge cleanup, and it's going to take that sort of spectrum approach to many different issues, and even the bills even. We're going to have to repeal a lot of the laws that came through. So it's going to take a bit of, again, prism or fanning out that I'm capable of doing as a conceptual artist. I actually can see the changes needed.
Are you running for office for the first time?
Well, I did run for president of my 9th grade class. I did win that.
But in terms of partisan office?
Oh God, yeah. I never ran for office. Okay. I don't think so. I did help on a campaign once, and that was fun. That was fun. Two campaigns I helped on.
Did you consider running in 2012 as a candidate?
I did run in 2012 as a candidate.
As what?
Oh, governor, for sure. In the recall.
You okay?
Oh yeah, independent.
As an independent.
Absolutely.
Good. Thank you for correcting me. There are more than 125 offices being elected on November 4. Why did you pick lieutenant governor, Mary Jo?
I already said there's like so many.
But you could have run for governor, or?
I started out as governor. That didn't work out. No,
okay.
Governor was way too much. As soon as I sort of saw the schematic of all of those nominations you have to do for all of the committees, that's way too big. I don't have that many connections. You have to be really connected, I think, in that way. I think lieutenant governor, you need to be connected to the issues, and you better have a better sense of who's going to help you work through those issues, whether they're good in law, whether they're good in budget, whether they're good in the social justice issues that need to be raised that aren't in current law. That's what to me, the lieutenant governor can do. And then also, highlight what's good in Wisconsin, because it's not that big of a state. I mean, it's not the whole United States, so it's just the state. So we have rivers and rivers and beautiful waterways. We need to have more parks. I think we need more state parks. But also we need to sort of work on preservation of what we have. And so I think the lieutenant governor can be a bit of a advocate for tourism and other things. You're kind of like the PR person for the state. And truthfully, I really think we need to be more like Vermont. So.
Are you going to run in the traditional way, raise money, go to these?
Oh God, I had to ask for money today. Yeah, because I'm trying to get north.
How did that feel?
How am I avoiding it? You mean? How am I avoiding it? I'm calling for gift cards.
You are.
I'm asking for gift cards. I'm asking for gas cards, coffee cards from 2 businesses that I adore. And that should do me, actually. Oh, and printing costs. Those are the things I know.
Okay.
Those are the bare bones of the campaign that absolutely I'm very certain I need to print. That's my biggest expense. I need gas to get to the north because I'm going up to where the proposed mine is going to be.
Well, let's talk about that mine. Okay. You're wearing a no mine button,
yes.
But you've also said, here's my question. Your top 5 campaign issues. Is it Act 10? Is it the mine? What else is it? You just said.
Did I say Act 10 wasn't in my top 5? I don't think so.
No.
I think collective bargaining might be. Sorry, folks. I think that if the Madison School District can step up and do their own collective bargaining, then I invite the rest of the labor parties to do the same. I mean, they braved it, and I think they're through it, and it's coming through the court, and they weren't afraid. So, it's not that I don't put it as top 5, but number 1 is the mines, including the frack zone in central Wisconsin.
All the frack mines in western Wisconsin.
It's a nightmare what we're dealing with right now. And Scott Walker opened up the state to business, and immediately in the last 3 years, the number of frack mines that have came along with that. Also the deregulation of the DNR. I don't care how many people he hired. That's not good enough. They're not testing the air and water. They're not testing air and water. The mining companies themselves can or cannot. If they apply for a variance, then they don't need to even check the air and water. And then on the other big problem with frac sand mining is that the DNR uses federal standards which don't even exist for frac sand mines. That's a problem. So I'll finish up.
So,
go ahead.
No, I was just trying to get to your other issues.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, and I say mining as number 1 issue is that the mine up north should not go through, will not go through. There's not going to be a mine. I mean that Act 1 allows for. I read recently that they could possibly put nuclear waste in that when they're done mining. Do we want nuclear waste in northern Wisconsin near the largest fresh water source? We do not. Second issue, legalization of marijuana.
Okay.
Medicinal.
Socially for?
Medicinal first.
Medicinal and then?
And I want hemp legal. It's ridiculous. Hemp is a very strong cord or whatever that people can work with in the state.
Yes.
And then recreational once they figure out the right laws. There are many groups working on this now over 20 years. I trust those groups. I learn from them every day.
Okay.
Third one is affordable housing. The last 3 years, also in Scott Walker's administration, it was lobbied and many laws passed not for tenants, not for tenant rights, nothing for tenant rights. So I think we need to preserve and scale down what people are having to pay right now in housing. It's not okay.
Are you?
Availability too is an issue.
Your party's got a primary for governor. Who do you support in that? Mary Burke or Brett Hulsey?
That's my only choices? Do I need to make a choice?
No, I just wondered if you wanted to.
Because it's my party? They're not really treating me like it's my party.
How so?
You
filed as a Democrat. You're on the ballot as a Democrat.
I filed as I couldn't say independent Democrat. I had to say Democrat. I don't know. For some reason, they didn't want to help me. I don't really know. I got a little bit of help at first. I was very happy to get some help with this. When I called and asked for help, and I got a staffer there. They have a lot of people on staff at the Democratic Party. It's huge. And I talked to one staffer who was like, okay, here you go. She answered all my questions. We had a great phone. She told me, here's the caucuses, because I have never been in the Democratic Party but for voting Democrat. I had never been a party member before, so I was new in all aspects. So I needed a little help. Oh. I mean, I still need a little help. And I proceeded to contact the county parties that she let me know about, and that was very constructive, and I was really ready to go and visit all the party meetings and galas and things. And then the administration, their committee, I forget the exact name, but it's a committee, decided to pre-endorse Mary Burke and John Layman. And the way I got the message was not very kind. I had called for press contacts and got a snappy email back with a link to an article in the Wisconsin Journal saying, well, you should know this. I should know what, I asked. Well, we won't help you anymore because we will help, not you that directly, but we will help the endorsed candidate. Okay. And so I was like, well, am I going to be able to speak at the convention? Because I was expecting to speak at the convention, and no, only John Layman will speak at the convention. Fine, okay, I processed that. I'm like, okay, great. Then I'm planning on going to Marathon County to their event. I'm really excited because Paul DeMaine is going to announce, and I wanted to be there for that.
For the state senate?
Yeah, I support his candidacy. I wanted him to run for governor. Anyway, I get there. I'm almost ready to get there, figuring out my logistics. I get a call from the chair. It says, you can't come. I said, why not? She said, their party's telling me we can't work with you. You can't come speak. Fine. I processed that. The Democratic convention happens this past weekend. I can't remember how it happened, if I contact them or they contact me, but I'm going to speak at the Native American Caucus.
I remember that. That was Friday night, yes. I
was going to speak at that, and it was a little awkward at the end. They sort of closed up their ceremony or their, event, and that's the end of our event. And I was never called up, and I was a little awkward, but I'm used to being bold. And I said, I'm Mary Jo Walters, and I'm supposed to speak today. And they let me come to the front and speak, and it wasn't until yesterday that I learned why it was so awkward in the caucus that day. The chair had written me an email in my other box in my Facebook page, so I didn't get the message till yesterday, that said that the Democratic Party said I didn't pay my dues.
Did you?
Yeah, I paid my dues.
Okay, so they used that as an argument.
I think they put all the money to the convention.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm looking through all my emails and trying to confirm there was no written receipt or anything, and so they used that. And so it's just a little bit embarrassing. So I did write the Democratic Party today, and I'll be done with it because I've got other things to do.
Why are you a more qualified candidate than John Layman for the office that you're seeking?
Because we need somebody that's very active and engaged, and not afraid to say no when no needs to be said. I'm not really getting that sense from John. Okay. I never even recall him on the mining committee.
Well, going back to Mary Burke and Brett Hulsey, which of them is more interested in the issues and your concerns?
You know, I haven't formally heard Brett speak, so I can't really summarize. I've only seen tidbits of his press releases and very brief encounters with him, so I don't feel like I have his full scene to assess at all.
Okay.
Mary Burke I've seen speak twice.
Okay.
So I have so it's almost unfair to compare the two without having the knowledge. And that's how I feel about the AG race too, is I really haven't been able to have a conversation with Susan Happ about legalization of marijuana. So I'm not making any judgment or making any statements when people ask me who am I supporting for the AG race.
Okay, well, we're almost out of time. I want to give you a chance to surface any other issue that I haven't asked you about. Is there any other key issue or statement you want to make?
I want people to know that running for office doesn't have to include money. I really do, because I think what I'm really sensing is that even the nonprofits that help people run, they're asking the candidates to learn how to ask for money. And so what happens is you're spending your time asking for money and you're not working on issues. And so, I mean, I understand there's a difference between the campaigning and when you're in office. There is a difference in how you talk to people. But I've been running this campaign as an activist. I haven't stopped going to meetings, getting up to speed on issues because they're changing week by week. I don't think I think that more activists need to run for office, because I actually think that we can help. It's going to take a lot of energy. We can help make change.
Excellent. Well, Mary Jo Walters of Madison is a Democratic candidate for Lieutenant Governor. I want to thank you, Mary Jo, for coming into Wisconsin Eye and doing the interview.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.